Sounds good. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. We're good? Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Let's Keep Talking. I'm your host, Braxton Gilbert. And today I'm joined by two of my very close friends, Alex Williams and Will Rayner. Hey, y'all.
How you doing?
Already.
Doing good?
Yeah, man. Good.
Amazing.
Awesome. Alex was on the podcast 2 weeks ago
I think it was 2 weeks, yeah.
about the mindset, and it was so good, I wanted to continue that conversation, but bring in a third person because we've all talked a lot about goals, talked a lot about fears, difficulties with going through obstacles and getting to where you want to be. And I think you're in tune for a really cool conversation in this episode. So, gentlemen, let's start off this conversation. We can kick that music down just a little bit, Christian, if you don't mind. Let's start off this conversation by talking about what goals you are currently looking at, and then we can move into some of the challenges and stuff like that.
Okay.
What are we focused on right now? What's our goals right now?
With me, my goal is I'm really working on myself. I'm working on my confidence. I'm working on, of course I have the powerlifting thing going on, but that's more so like a subcategory of like me just dealing with my confidence, And personally, I'm all about like right now I'm all about personal growth. Yeah. And so I'm just trying
a lot of personal growth.
Huh?
I said a lot of personal growth.
Yeah,
It's really cool to watch.
So with me, every day is just me working on my mindset, knowing what I want out of life. I want to be an asset to people. I want to inspire people. I want to help as many people as I can, and so before I can do that, I know I have to work on myself, So that's what I'm doing right now currently. That's why I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone more than usual, face fear, more often, and just, get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah. Will, what about you, bro?
Well, I think it's really interesting that you say, work on being comfortable with being uncomfortable, because like that's where I'm at in life right now, is like accepting being uncomfortable. I feel like I'm to a point where actually my goals are no longer set out for me. Growing up, they are, you got soccer team, you got a championship that you're working towards.
This is the whole point of this conversation, right?
Yeah.
Bring that mic a little closer to you, by the way.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just kind of, now I'm, post-college life, just figuring out what it is that I genuinely want to do. And I think accepting being uncomfortable is like the biggest part of that,
The part about your goals are set out for you until you get a certain age is a really important part of the conversation, because
right.
What does it feel? What's the uncomfortable feeling you have about the goals not being predetermined for you?
Well, I mean, it's part of growing up in general. You're not always going to have somebody there watching over you, like letting you know what you're supposed to be doing, or, nobody can tell you what the right path is. And so you get to a point, and for me, I just graduated college in May. I'm trying to figure things out. One of the things I figured out is I want to do nothing with what I graduated with.
What'd you graduate with?
Professional health science with concentration in healthcare administration. I don't want to manage people, and I get asked a lot from my clients, they're like, oh, you don't want to tell people what to do? Well, that's what you do for a living. Like, the difference is you want to be told, and I enjoy that. Like, I enjoy being able to share.
Talking about training versus
training, yeah. So I enjoy just being able to share my knowledge, and I think working towards goals, you have to be able to set them for yourself.
That's the big point, man.
Right. It is.
Nobody can set a goal for you.
I think, like, when it comes to goals, you have to you can't have nobody set goals for you. You definitely have to know exactly what do you want to work towards. And
they do all your life. Like, everyone sets the goals for you until
right.
you like graduate college or something.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then you're out on your own, and they expect you to be an adult, and you're like,
yeah. It's like people definitely put like a time frame on everything. Like, you're supposed to finish college by this time. You're supposed to be grown and know what you want by this age and stuff. And like, you're in a good point, like good part of life right now. It's like you just finished college. After college, you went through all 4 years or whatever, and now you're trying to figure out like, you just figured out, I really don't know what I want to do. I don't want to do this degree. So now it's like you have to, I know you want to look everywhere for the answer, but I think like the answer is like in you,
right.
you know? You have to search inside, like what do Will really want?
Right.
You know?
How tough is that? Because I think that's probably one of the biggest challenging components for establishing your goal is like, wait a second, before I can establish a goal, there's a whole lot of like trusting my own intuition, trusting my own decisions, breaking away from being a child and becoming a man and deciding that I'm going to rely on my own decision making, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, extremely difficult. You know, I think I've placed such a large emphasis on figuring out what it is that Will really wants, because I have watched my parents on both ends of the spectrum. My dad, you know, is a decorated scientist, and you know, everyone, when they hear about his job, they're like, that is so cool, and you know, whatever. My dad's been miserable in his career. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's this highly respected profession, doing microvirology and working vaccine development and weaponized anthrax, things like that, you know. And on paper it sounds so cool, but he hates it, you know. So I've placed a larger emphasis on what it is that I want to do, because I want more than that in my own life.
It's funny because that's almost a curse. It's a luxury, yeah, but for a moment it's the curse of confusion too, because it's like it's so much. You're so sure, like, you know, one of the greatest things that could happen for our mental health would be like we go to war as a country or something, you know, because like then it's like all the decisions and the analysis and needing to decide is out the window. Like we got one goal, we're going to kill these kids, you know, and we're all bonded together. We're brothers. We're in the trenches, and you know, the goal to live, and it's easy, but it's like almost like a modern day problem is like now you have the option of choosing fulfillment as well. And how the hell do you do that?
Not just sustenance, you know, and I think a lot of people do kind of conform to that path where, you know, I'm just going to get a job as an accountant because it pays well and it's stable, decent work-life balance. And while I think that's great for so many people, and I actually think that a lot of people really need that structure in their life, you know.
They want it.
They want it. You know, taking decisions off the table makes things easier for the individual.
Of course,
yeah.
See,
when you have less to choose from.
Yeah, but people hate making decisions. Right. That's the big thing. People hate making decisions, you know.
Defining your failure, you know, like now you can actually fail because you've decided what to do. That's scary.
But decision paralysis is also a very real thing.
So where are you at right now with your thinking about your career? You're doing training right now. Like, what's some of the what's going on in your mind? Give people an inside look to your head.
So I think what I would like to talk about is what I'm working towards actively. So I have discovered I work a second job at a bar downtown, and, you know, it's all, you know, in good fun and things like that, but it's nowhere near as fulfilling as this career path for me. And
personal training? Yeah,
personal training. And I find myself at that job basically thinking, here I am, college graduate, and I am scooping ice cream to make milkshakes that have alcohol in it, you know, whatever. It's just, I feel like I'm destined to do a whole lot more than that, and so I feel stuck in that place. So what I'm working towards actively is treating personal training like a 9-to-5, even though it's appointment-based and I've only got a couple clients in the morning. I want to work towards, like, filling my days with personal training, even if I have nothing scheduled to do. Yeah, that's what I'm working on.
What's the next step?
Quitting the bar job.
Why?
Because when we talk about stepping outside of your comfort zone, there's something to be said about how when you're within that comfort zone, you don't do anything to get out of it, you know, not actively. Yeah. So when you're comfortable, it's very easy to go, I've got work these days. And then, hey, with personal training, I've only got a couple clients in the morning. I've got the rest of the day to work on stuff around the house, go kayaking, goof off, whatever. So
you feel pressure to do personal training?
I don't.
Because you're around a bunch of guys that do it. It's the cool thing in your friend group.
I don't. And what's funny is my journey in personal training actually began here as well, you know. And
same here.
It was almost as though I stumbled upon becoming a trainer. You know, it's like I fell in love with trying to fix my shoulder. It was in such a broken state after 2 surgeries, you know, and I fell in love with it, and I just wanted to share that with other people. I mean, everyone comes with ailments, whether, you know, it be mental or physical. And
So then you want to share it with other people. So now you want to branch out, or now you want to grow a business doing it. You want to do that for a career. But I can't get it going because...
It's because of me.
What about you?
It's
let's strip down Will to be
sure.
Most definitely. Like, well,
what is it? Because that's a beautiful passion. You're like, this is cool. I like to feel good and feel strong. So, here's an idea. What if I help other people feel this?
Right.
And then it hits against something that says like, what?
So like, I kind of want to go back to one thing that Alex said, and then that'll better help me illustrate, which is that you mentioned something along the lines of, how do I put this? You mentioned something about how you're supposed to have it all figured out, you know, and like there are things set out for you in your life. And I think one of the things you didn't mention too is like settling down and like having kids. Like we have these bigger pressures put on our lives, you know, in regards to that. And so
it's all the same thing. Like people, like parents, like my mom put that on me every day. You know, I'm not ready for that because I know it's sad to say it might be a distraction to me because I know it's going to take away from the time that I need to invest somewhere else, you know?
Yeah.
Which is if that's what you truly want, like if a person want to say, hey, I want to go ahead and have a family because they truly want to, not because somebody set a time for you, that's perfectly fine. You want to be, it's a goal to be a great parent, you know, or a great husband or wife, you know, that's a goal. You know?
I think what that leads me to though is like the pressures that are put on us as children, and, you know, your fear of letting your family members down or those who are around you. And, you know, nobody ever wants to fail. Nobody ever wants to have other people see them fail. And sometimes the fear of that is overwhelming.
It's almost like that you have a constant IV drip of approval from your family because you've been a good boy. Like all my life I've been a good boy. They've said, you're so great. You're going to do such great things. You're so awesome. We're so proud of you.
Right.
And a girl's going to be lucky to have you. You're going to crush whatever job and all this expectation. They keep dumping in like this prepayment of morphine coming in, and it feels so good for the approval. But like, you're looking at the plans they have for you, and you're like, I don't know that. But if I decide against these pre-approved plans by the people that I care the most about, which hold my identity, right? Because there's one way that says, like, you know that quote that says, I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I'm who I think you think I am. It's like, I am who I think Alex and Will think I am right now. That's like my identity.
Like a projection.
Yeah, so like you have your family, the closest people to you, who you think they think you are, if you take away from those pre-approved plans, is like a dude not getting it together, he's a failure, etc. And so you're like, seem to be at this frustrating point where you're like, I have this approval already if I go this route. And that feels nice. It also feels numbing. If I pull that approval out and chart my own territory, that's filled with the demons of my own problems that are blocked by the typical route. Get married, get a job. Like, you don't have to face your own problems because they're always the boss's responsibility. Those kind of things.
Yeah. And then going back to success, the way, you know, we had talked about it earlier, is that success is not like getting to that point. You know, it's like the steps that you take to get there, and the success being the result of that, you know, like, so it is.
But that's not in the IV drip right now.
No, but what I'm saying is like, that's the process, right? Is allowing yourself to realize, like, you know, I may not be there right now, but I'm going to work on it. You know, like every day I'm going to work to continue getting better. And like, that's something I've really struggled with.
It feels like such a chump game though. Like, you know, like that right there. Like for me, like the whole, like, I'm not there, but I'm working on it. It sounds like I'm a weak ass dude.
Sure.
You know, barely making ends meet, trying to get by. It's like a pity-filled statement. And I've, like, the more I get away from that and realize, no, that's the truth no matter your external circumstance. You're always just where you are, working on getting better.
Yeah.
And, like, take some humility, champ. Like, maybe it is a messed up knee you're rehabbing, or maybe legitimately it's a new project that if you're watching this video on YouTube and you have 50 views, hit a like so it helps the algorithm. You know, there's no wins in my pocket.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like that idea of I'm actually just doing the best I can isn't a excuse for failure. It's just the reality of where I'm at, you know?
I think sometimes the best that you can do isn't a whole lot. I mean, we have low points in our life, and maybe your best is getting off the couch and taking a shower that day. You know, it's kind of immeasurable. It's kind of what you make it out to be. So.
But then again, it varies. But like, yes, the amount of what you can do as your best varies. Like some days you hit 100 calls, some days you hit 20. Some days some days you can get it up, some days you can't. You know, like I'm doing my best, baby. Like, you know, biologically things change and whatnot. But you can always close once you develop if you're practicing self-awareness, then you can close your eyes and say, what's my best? Like, what can I actually do today? And I think a lot of people muddy up the waters of like, well, what is your best? And like, how do we even know how much your best is as like a method of like putting away the pain of decision-making and stuff, right? Like in your journey where you're at right now, what is the next step that you're afraid to take? Maybe we could just talk about
I think it's commitment.
What do you mean?
Like
if you're comfortable talking about
it. Absolutely. It's commitment it's not that I have like commitment issues. In fact, this is actually like the first time in my life where I feel like I've been scared to make a decision. I've always kind of prided myself on never being the best at preventing problems and things like that, but figuring them out. And I felt like that was such a noble trait. It's like I could take whatever was thrown at me and overcome it. And so the next step for me is committing. It's deciding what it is that I truly want to do. And I'm young, you know, I'm 23 years old. Like I'm not going to have everything figured out. So part of it's recognizing that, but I want to build a skill set towards what it is that I'm doing for a living. And so I want to put all my eggs in one basket. That's kind of the next step.
But you don't know the next thing though.
That's what I'm working on.
Yeah, but what do you, I don't like that phrase at all. Like I'm not going to have everything figured out. Cause like, I think yes, in terms of like where you want to go. Yeah, you don't have it figured out. Cause like the whole, like, what's your job going to be? You're like, Dad, we live in a different world. Like, it's not like what's your 25, my dad worked for Coca-Cola for 25 years. You know, it's like, I'm not going to do that. No one's going to do that, quite frankly. But maybe the definition of the phrase, or the meaning of the phrase of having it all figured out is just a little bit of a shorter time horizon instead of being about a career. Like maybe it's like, I am going to have it all figured out in terms of like what's important to me and what I want and how I want to spend my time. And like, I'm casting away the idea of like, what's the next 20 years of my life looking like? And more so just getting close to the idea of like, maybe in 1 year time increments, 6 month time increments, 2 weeks time increments, like instead of what do I want to do, just what's the kind of person I want to be and what's success look like to me. And I do have it all figured out. Yeah. Actually, it takes time.
Like you said, like it's just about knowing yourself. Yeah. You know, more so than anything. So I would even like focus on like figuring out a career path for what's next. I would figure out like just you, bro. Just understanding what's my likes and what's my dislikes, how I see like are you good at imagery? Just think about like how you want your life to go. Oh yeah. Like how do you want to be married or whatever? Or just what do you see yourself doing? Yeah, like just
figuring out the values, you know.
And don't get obsessed with like the time frame that it takes or even like the pressures of your parents. You know
how much money you make.
Yeah, how much money doesn't equate success.
Well, yeah. So like, let's talk about your time in the military. Was that something you decided to do, or was that kind of like a value that somebody else put on you?
At the time, yes, it was something I want to do. I don't regret it at all because it instilled in me traits that I wouldn't have gotten. It wouldn't have got me to this point. So what I would say is like it taught me discipline. You know. It taught me just like not even making an excuse about why you can't do something, you know, and then it also introduced me to fitness, you know, and so the military held a big part of my life, but I knew for a fact, like when I was doing it, this is not something I would do for the rest of my life. I'm not going to retire for the military, even though people say, hey, stay in the military, you can retire with it. I don't want to retire from that, you know. I don't want to waste another 10 years of my life doing something like that because that doesn't bring me fulfillment or joy, you know. And so, like a lot of people, you know, they want you to be okay. They want to make sure, you know, that they support you and everything, but it's like they kind of like keeping you from going out on your own in a sense of just, you know, they want you to just be, you know, okay, if that makes sense, you know.
The biggest thing that keeps coming up in this conversation is the growing up, like the mom and dad don't know
what you want.
Yeah, like that, for me, that's what I'm continually developing and learning is like, I don't think it was until in the last like 2 years, really, that I started separating myself. I never really had a rebellious stage. You know, I was always a good kid. I always like got my hit of like approval. You know, if my dad said that's bad, I was like, it's bad, you know?
Yeah.
And that was me. I was always the good kid. And I never had the get out of my room mom phase. You know, I think one time I played my radio on 93 BLX too loud and my mom kicked the door down and was like, you're not going to play that shit in my house or whatever. I was like, perfect. All right. I won't, you know?
I won't.
Start listening to Christian rappers or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. But the, that's a scary thing, man, that I have worked on and started developing is like, okay, well, if I can't go to my dad and I can't, okay, so there's like this growing unhappiness with life because I'm not fulfilling the order that somebody wants me to fulfill.
Right.
And that's me because I don't know what I want.
Exactly.
I only know what people want me to do. And that's tough because like, wait, is it disrespectful to my dad if I think he's wrong?
Nope.
It's not.
You know what I mean? Like
Not
that
at
kind
all.
of thing. Is it am I disrespecting my dad? Like, you know, religion is a big one. Am I dishonoring my father's God if I disbelieve in his God? Am I like, how do I say I don't want to go to college and have a long career and a steady job without telling my dad he's an idiot? You know, like without saying, hey, I think that's a stupid idea. Like, okay, well, this is hard. How do I make decisions that confront other people's decisions without being sharp and without attacking them? You know, like a born again Christian, they like want to convert everybody. Like, how do I disconnect myself from the umbilical cord of my mom and really begin to say, like, how this is the first, I remember the first disagreement I had with my dad like a year and a half ago. The first time I ever squared face to face, just disagreed, and no matter how much tension the moment rose, I didn't see that the best route was to gain his approval by agreeing. I thought the best thing is I'm my own man. I disagree. I just disagree, and that's what it was. And that was a huge moment, man. That was like a breakthrough of sorts of like, my dad and I are two dudes trying to figure it out, and there's a lot of respect and a lot of honor to him because he's lived a life a lot longer than me and stuff. But at the end of the day, I am going to have to, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I believe in myself, what I think.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't think like situations like that, especially when like your parents are, you know, they just have, not saying they have it, they have the path for you planned out, but when you come to a point where you become more aware of like yourself, you start thinking more about what you want to do or what values means the most to you. And it's just like that friction that you get between like the relationship, that's unavoidable, you know, because at the end of the day, you're your own person and they're their own person as well. You know, y'all have different ways of thinking, you know, and it's just, and it's not something you can, like, you can't do nothing about how they feel. You know, that's going to be a learn, they're going to learn you again, you know?
Yeah.
So and I think that's a very pivotal point. And like when it comes to relationships with like parents and even like a relationship with yourself, you know, just understand like I'm a thinker, you know, it's okay to think, you know, it's okay for me to have my own idea, my own system of beliefs and values, you know, if my core makes my core happy, you know?
Yeah.
So I just say like, just hold on to that, you know what I mean? And it's not disrespectful to anyone. You know, a lot of people might take it as disrespect because they don't necessarily see that for you or they don't have that mindset of like, okay, he's open-minded, you know, about a whole lot of stuff, you know.
It's so people interpret disagreement with like a threat to their identity.
Yeah.
You know, because like once you adopt a belief structure, it becomes who you are and that's how you navigate the world. And most people don't ever add the tool to their tool bag that says like, to believe something is true is just you believing it's true. It's not making it true. So like if you think the world works a certain way, that's just how you've chosen to navigate the world. And if I think it works differently, you don't have to defend your point of view to me. We don't have to like, if I find that you think what I'm doing is dumb, I don't have to like prove you wrong to continue moving forward in my thing. And a lot of that is being secure in what I'm doing so that it doesn't get tossed and turned by the opinions of other people, you know? Even past that, there's like how do you know, even past that, there's like the art of like paying attention to people's response to projects you're working on without it hitting the soul core of motivation for you doing it. Like, you know, doing personal training, doing the things needed, like doing marketing for personal training and being okay with it being a failure. And if people are like, oh, that marketing was kind of tacky, you're like, okay, noted, like, got it. Like the marketing was kind of tacky. So like, it's not that you like, so that you can choose your own way, you just commit to ignorance. And you're like, la, 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 la. I'm happy choosing my own path. Right. Yeah. There's an art to it, man. I really want to bring out in this conversation the relatability that people can feel with the fears of going out there. And I'm more than happy to talk about my own fears too.
I've got something that is right up that alley.
Go for it.
I look at life in such a way that is like time is the most precious resource. You know, the time that I get to spend like having conversations with the two of y'all, you know, like surrounding myself with the people who I love. And so a lot of times like I cast things to the side as like, you know what, this isn't going to be important next week. Like, why am I stressing about it? You know, and like, you know, I could get in a car accident on the way home. But I think sometimes the fear of like, we'll say dying prevents people in such a way that they can't actually live, you know.
What about you?
Yeah. So, I've been going through some family things recently, you know. I mean, we just lost my grandmother on Saturday.
Oh, man.
So, that, man. You know, and she was such a light in my world. And so, you know, these past few weeks, past few months really have been tough, you know, to watch her go through that, you know, deterioration. She's had Parkinson's for, I believe, 24 years, you know. And I think that what's beautiful about her situation is that for me, it really illustrated what I truly find to be important, you know. So it's navigating these hard times. It is not necessarily compartmentalizing, but to recognize the current situation that you're in and to find like the strength in yourself to overcome that is tough, but we got to keep moving on, you know. And if she were here right now, she'd tell me to get back to work. Yeah. You know. And
what, even with grandma telling you get back to work, what keeps you from getting back to work?
Other than the fact that just happened Saturday and it's Monday and I'm here, but
yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's we just got done talking essentially about how it's kind of like telling everybody else, like, I'm my own man, and I'm going to figure out what it is that I want to do and stuff like that and whatever. And here I have a deceased loved one who, like, I know would want me to just continue on as normal. And so I think we walk this tightrope of managing other people's expectations while still being our own individual.
Yeah, the interesting thing about, and I want to approach this with a lot of sensitivity for losing a loved one, for sure. Yeah. If you'd like to continue the conversation in the area of psychoanalysis, figuring out what keeps us from reaching our goals, we could even look into that and say it's interesting that even in light of losing a loved one, the motivation for continuing on still rests in the opinion of someone else.
Sure.
You know, how do I find my way through this? Well, I know Granny would still want me to keep trucking.
It's like I'd like to make her proud, you know.
There it goes again, just putting a mustache on and hiding behind the motivation of a deceased one, you know.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
Instead of saying like, and again, it's not like instead of saying something or changing your wording on that, but I would like to say the question of like, what's the most challenging thing what's the biggest fear that Will faces in terms of becoming his own man and deciding for yourself what you want to do in life?
So that's a really good question. Like this is basically, it's been my mantra recently, like what I'm trying to figure out anyways, you know, but, I don't know if I have that answer, you know. It's something that I feel like I ask myself every single day, but it's like part of me wants to honor her like in that way, you know, with, you know, working hard and working towards something. But one thing I know about my grandmother is I could be scrubbing toilets, and if I were happy doing that, she'd be happy for me.
Yeah.
You know.
So you feel like somebody do you feel like the expectations like other people would keep you like what you want to do from being happy? or them being happy?
Why still? What is it that keeps you from? What's the biggest challenge you face? What's the biggest fear? What's the feeling that arises when you think about making your own decisions as your own person?
I mean, plainly and simply, it's like just the fear of being wrong.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
That's what that's.
I mean, as simple as it gets, it's like, what if I put all my time and effort into this and I'm just flat out wrong?
This is the finishing of the episode. That's exactly what we're getting to.
Of Will Rayner.
Yeah. Okay, great. So just a second, maybe 10 seconds to let that sit in.
Yeah.
Because that's it. The fear of being wrong. And that then we masquerade behind all these platitudes of life and statements about, well, you know, at the end of the day, or, you know, people tend to whatever, and at the end of the day, I just am afraid of being wrong.
Yeah.
So if you're down for it, you want to go further into it?
I always wonder, like, why people are afraid to be wrong?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that
It's the same thing.
you want to ask someone at this table that question?
Like, why be afraid to be wrong?
It's the same thing as like when you're back in middle school, high school, whatever, and teacher asks a question and you won't raise your hand to answer it because you're scared of being wrong in front of other people.
That's be wrong in front of other people.
Yeah.
Like,
right. But that's what we're getting at, you know, is like, it is the other people, like that's the factor.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, that's what I'm saying. Like, external factors, bro. It's a mindset. You got to shift like your mindset of like, those people they don't validate you.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's just like embarrassment, you know?
Yeah. So let's hang out with that question.
Yeah.
Great question from Alex. Why be afraid of being wrong?
Because I feel like being wrong regarding this, like career decisions, happiness within life, and things like that, I think honestly, I feel like the stakes are too high.
Yeah. I think that
to be wrong, you know.
In this conversation, we've already popped out the pearl of we do so many extra things and dance and talk around so many other things, and like we don't juke away from that to not say how we really feel.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of you.
Yeah.
As a brother, because that's courageous, and I really
appreciate that.
That's really awesome to just say at the end of the day, man, I'm afraid of being wrong, because I feel that too, afraid of being wrong, and that's the next. All the strategies and shit you can see, as many as social media, motivational, do what you want to do, F other people all you want, but you're like, yeah, it's only motivational because you're still holding on to this feeling that ultimately I'm still controlled by other people. You know, like if you like a video that says F what people say, do what you want, like the best mental health would be if that didn't even affect you. If you're like, what is that even talking about?
Yeah.
Just because we're so clung up on still following other people. What about the being wrong? Maybe we've got about 15, 20 more minutes. What about being wrong? Like you're choosing a job. You're choosing a that's a good question. Choosing a job, choosing a spouse, could you be right?
So many areas.
Could you be right? Is there a way to be right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, great. Let's talk about that. That's
There
an
is.
interesting answer.
Yeah.
So it's like the whole concept of like dualism, you know, like can't be right without being wrong, you know, or can't be happy without being sad, you know, like things of that nature. But it's you recognize the potential for being right while also still holding on to the possibility of being wrong.
What would it look like for you to make the right decision about your career? Since that's the focal point of your entire existence right now.
Yeah, I mean that's what's in the spotlight, that's for sure. But
how would you define making the right decision?
I think anything I've ever told myself that about that kind of chalks up to an excuse one way or the other.
Nice, I respect that.
It's like, you know, how I would define being right would be like I've touched so many people's lives, you know, and like really helped them in their pursuits for, you know, physical and mental growth, you know. But I say these things and I don't know if I really buy into them.
Do you mind, Alex, if we continue to drill in with Will for this
Yeah,
podcast?
because, I mean, honestly, bro, for somebody to be like wrong, it seems like you already have an answer.
Yeah.
You know, you just fearful of just pursuing that answer for Will, you know, because it seemed like you definitely have an answer already, you know, in whatever you know aspect of life, you know, that you want to go in, but it seemed like that.
What it would be the right answer? Like, it seems that you're so, and I'm talking to myself too, and Alex as well. So it's not Will, you know, but you're the character representing fear right now.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
That can be me.
You got
That's
the role,
all right.
baby. Congratulations. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I appreciate it.
I want to make, you know, all this stuff we talked about comes down to the feeling that you said this. I'm afraid to be wrong. So that is like there's the path in there, right? What happens if you're wrong?
That's a good question too.
So you and I have talked about this a little bit before, just having conversations. It's nice now to know that, like, hey, we have some kind of record of what we're saying. But I think I haven't failed in so long that I don't know what that looks like.
That's good.
Like, I don't think I've genuinely attempted to do something and failed at it. But that starts with my fear of trying, you know? So the reason I haven't failed at anything in a long time is not because I'm just this rock solid dude, you know, like, let's take life on, you know, by the horns, but it's actually been because I haven't attempted to, like, try.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So my answer to your question is that I don't know. I don't know what being wrong looks like right now. So.
Okay. As a
I was going to add, but I don't want to be like insensitive, you know, about saying like the reason.
Alex is very motivational.
Well, I know, I'm just saying.
Oh, he was
this
my
is another
coach
aspect from
before.
Brent.
Yeah.
But
So.
I would say, like, for you to say I haven't failed in a long time is because I haven't tried. It's just like saying I've already failed. You've already failed.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Talked about this.
But it's definitely comfier.
Yeah, it's definitely coming.
Absolutely.
It's definitely saying I didn't really fail because I didn't really try. But
because
if you don't attempt, like, you, like, true failure is not trying at all, you know.
Right.
Trying and failing is like like you have a decision right there to say I'm gonna go over this failure and continue pushing. That's how we talked in the last podcast what success is.
Yeah.
It's like the steady progression towards a goal, you know. That is success, not the end result.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I know we kind of just want to like protect our, you know, self-image, protect what, like you said, I'm not who I am, I'm who I think you think I am. You know, we want to protect that image as much as possible.
Yeah, I want to be a failure.
I don't want to be a failure. I don't want to seem like a failure. But we should be okay with failing more often.
And that's,
you know?
the thing is it hurts me on such a deep level to fail, to fall short on something. You know, it's like.
Is it because you got all these piercing eyes on you?
No, I actually think it's because I'm way too self-critical. Like I wouldn't call myself a perfectionist, but I would say that, like, my whole life, you know, I have worked so hard for the things that I've done, and when I've fallen short, like I take it personally on myself. You know, I'm more mad at myself than I am at anything else.
Is it nice to see clearly why you're stuck right now in this conversation? It's very clear why I'm stuck.
Yeah.
I'm stuck because for me, failure is not hitting the mark. And damn sure the best way to not do that is to not shoot.
Yeah.
And the easiest way to not really fail is when I can pass the blame off to someone else. So I'd rather rely on other people's advice so I can always fall back on the fact they told me to do it. There's something so mature about deciding that, you know what, I'd rather miss the mark myself and have valued the skill of relying on my own interpretation of the world and the events that happen in front of me and what's important in pursuit of being a man, in pursuit of being my own person. Maybe the goal, instead of thinking career, maybe the first goal is to be my own person, to be my own man.
Right. It's like what, Alex was talking about with, just right now he's so fixated on self-growth. And I feel like that's something that a lot of us need to be doing, and a lot of us claim to be doing, but really aren't doing like all that much. Like, you know, they want to say that they're working on themselves, but I'll say honestly, just like you, I mean, in my downtime, I'm like, you know, I've been like journaling, like just writing down what it is that is going through my mind, or, you know, if I'm out and about, it'll be like on my notes, you know, and something, and it's a reflection of what I'm going through, or my anxieties, or the things that hold me captive.
You got to be careful too when you're journaling to not spend time just doing another thing that runs from the thing.
Yeah.
Because you can double close yourself in when you do self-discovery stuff and continue to confuse yourself, you know? Like, there's such a valuable lesson in the fact that you just stopped for a second and said, I'm scared of being wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
That's all therapy. That's all I pay for in therapy, is just for someone to be like, hey, dude, hey, you're totally rambling. Where is it? Like, what's the feeling? That kind of thing.
The way I've been structuring my thoughts recently is something I learned as a child, and it's called a rose and a thorn. You know, like rose being a beautiful thing, thorn being the thing that pricks your finger and it hurts like hell. But it's a negative and a positive. You know, it's recognizing the negative and searching then for something that I find positive. Because sometimes it's not like readily apparent, you know, it's, you have to kind of look within, or like really just appreciate something minor maybe you've done that day, but that's helped me a lot.
Do you think that one of the, well, let's talk about this. We have 10 minutes left.
Okay.
Failing. How would you define failing? Da 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 da. Winner.
I don't know if I can give that a proper
Define terms, you know, like if you're trying to navigate interpersonal, well, you are, we all are.
Yeah.
Like, we talk about all this stuff. We journal pages, we go to workshops, we listen to meditation tapes, we read books, self-help, and all it does is just distract you from this inner truth that already exists. So you don't need any book to find out.
Yeah. Are we talking?
You just got to look inside, like,
You just got to shut the fuck up.
and just listen, bro.
You just got to shut the fuck up and sit and go, oh, it hurts.
Exactly.
And then it goes,
Feel that
I'm
feeling.
a failure,
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
how
are you talking interpersonal failure? Like,
How would you define failure?
I think there are several ways. I
How
don't
would
think
you
I
define failure in one definition? It's true, not what it should be, but what you genuinely feel like. And it's probably the wrong definition, but say it anyways, right? Like, don't try to change it.
Yeah, just say it.
Give me a definition.
Right now, failure for me would actually be just being miserable.
Okay.
That's what it looks like to me. That's how I'm picturing it. That is what the imagery comes to when I'm thinking of failure, is like
Miserable.
being miserable. Like doing insanity is doing the same thing over and over again,
Expecting a different result.
expecting a different result. But
I like the definition. That's helpful. It seems to be that's probably has a lot to do with the stress you're feeling of like breaking away from the way it's taught. Cool. And there's a lot of respect in the place you're in, where you're like awaking to the autonomy that you have that people before you haven't had. So that's cool. What do you think about the quote? I think Theodore Roosevelt says it, that it's not the critic that gets the credit. The credit goes to the man in the arena, bloodied up face, dirty knees, you know, that's actually out there trying. What do you, why is it hard for you, same thing for me, why is it hard for you to really align with that phrase and say, I'm the man in the arena, I'm wrestling with these very true obstacles in my personal life, and that's where the credit is due, not to other people's opinion about what I'm going through?
yeah. Well, I mean, that quote illustrates it well. You know, it's like there will always be external commentation. There will always be judgment, eyes on you.
It's something you cannot get away from, you know.
But it's a constant.
It's constant all the time.
What's a constant?
So like the
external critic.
Yeah, like other people having, you know, some kind of comment on what it is that you're doing, or a thought or whatever. And sometimes it's the I bet you this person thinks this of me.
Because isn't it the internal critic?
Yeah.
Like it's not the external critic even. Like even Theodore Roosevelt was like one step closer to getting the truth of saying like, it's not the critic that counts, it's the person doing it. And inside you exists both of those people.
Right.
There's the critic and there's the doer, and the doer's like, like not doing anything because the critic's like, you better not fail. Your whole family will think you're an idiot.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, I think it's like with that, it's just like, where did that idea come from? You know, like if you take it from an external critic, you know, and then you accept that, you know, from them, and then like we say, you start to believe them, you know, then you start to become your worst critic because you're constantly, you know, telling yourself the same things that you keep hearing over and over and over again, you know, to the point where like you just sit here and you just believe it. You know what I mean?
That's right now I've just added that to my back pocket. That's a really good phrase just to repeat to yourself when you're putting together a new ad for your business, or you're trying out something different, or you're working hard again at something that didn't work last time. Inside yourself, when you hear yourself go, oh, this isn't going to work, it's stupid, this is going to look ridiculous, and it's not like genuine criticisms of the project where it's like, yeah, that is off, you know, just to tell yourself it's not the critic that counts.
Right.
It's the person doing it, and that's who I identify with. I'm the one doing it, not the critic. I'm the doer, you know.
Yeah, I feel like the external critic, though, like fuels my internal critic.
Gives you more content.
Yeah, it's like,
recently in the news, you know,
they validate what I was thinking, you know.
I am a failure. I was right, you know.
But what's funny is it's nobody's actually saying something to me along the lines of you're failing. I mean,
Exactly.
Not a single person. Like nobody is going, oh, you work at a bar on the weekends? I have this great job working as a doctor, you know, whatever. I mean,
Just
nobody's saying
It's
that.
just you thinking that.
But I'm thinking that's what they're thinking,
so,
and it fuels my internal critic. It's like I'm not doing enough. So
you're the enemy, man.
Mentions to it, man.
But it's me fighting me all the time.
Alex Williams.
Yes.
Someone listening to this is going, yeah,
Right.
Exactly. That's about right. Me and Will should be buddies. We're hanging out, you know. What do you say to that person?
Is that their will?
Just there's someone that, their will, they resonate with this conversation, and they go, I'm right there, man. I am stuck under the weight of the critic, and I don't know if I can break out of this. How have you done it? Because you're the man.
Man, I'm not the man. Like
You are the man. I'm telling you, you're the man.
Okay, I'm the man. I'll take it, you know. But for me, really, it started with where you were. You know, I would listen to a lot of external critics, and I would take it upon myself. I'll be my biggest critic, and I would definitely say, I'm not these things, you know. But it's not who you are that holds you back. Well, it's who you think you're not. You know what I mean? So I would say you have to be okay with failure, because no successful person has never not failed. Every successful person you know has failed, you know. And just because you fail, it doesn't make you less of a person. Honestly, it make you a bigger person to just fucking fail and accept that you fail and keep going.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's the only way you can be a success.
That's the only way you can be a success.
Right.
It's like the only true success is getting back up after you fail.
Exactly.
So go look for some failure.
Look, like that's like you should definitely try to fail every day.
100%.
Every day, because like that's what growth is all about. You know, I know you don't want to be the same person 5 years from now, so you have to do something before you're ready.
Yeah.
And that's how you do it. You have to step in that position in order to grow. You're not going to be you wasn't as good as you were with like building a business when you first started. You was scrambling all over the place until you grew to that position, and now it's second nature to you, you know. And
he's still growing.
And you still growing.
So and the challenge and the way to get there is you don't have to hear it from someone else. Like I think that's a really cool point to this about being successful, looking for failure, looking to take the next step. It's not about orienting yourself and saying like, or not orienting, but like choosing the goal. Like, oh, I'm going to be this, or I'm going to try to be the best personal trainer. I'm going to open up my own gym, or whatever. It's just like, get real quiet and find the true task that you're scared to approach, right? The thing that personally to you, because it's not like, hey, buy my course, I'll teach you how to be a personal trainer and make $10,000 a month. It's like, I'm not trying to tackle your obstacles. I'm trying to tackle my obstacles. And the only way to know those is to get really quiet and go, okay, the dragon, the true obstacle in front of my path that was birthed out of my own imagination and fears, that's real to me, it's my job to tackle it, no matter how small.
No matter how small.
For me, that looks like starting ads again for the gym and being willing to put out ads that do well or don't do well. And if people will say, oh, that ad is weird, or that is a weird catch line, or that's a weird hook, or that's stupid, but in reality, that's honestly my critiques of my own self projecting in the entire world they probably don't care, and people don't care until you're successful. So who gives a shit, right? And
So
doing that's the dragon in my way.
Yeah, just like be the doer.
Be the doer.
Be the doer.
Not the critic.
You know, not the critic. Because if you're forever criticizing yourself, you'll never build the courage to go out there and do and slay that dragon.
And realize how lame the critic is.
It is.
The critic sits up there and is like chewing on a double smack burrito,
He not
rubbing
putting in
his
no
belly,
work.
and he's like, the diet doesn't work anyways.
Exactly.
And you're like, dude, who are you? Who hired you?
And that's a good way to look at it, because if you watch any person, like a boxing match, the critics out there just, this and this, but the man that counts is the man in the ring.
Yeah, like the two guys in there are fighting for their lives, but they're radio silence with everybody else, like they're focused on one thing.
Focused. And that's how you have to be. Like, it doesn't matter if it's your mom, it doesn't matter who, or your dad, or whoever, your best friend or whatever. Like, Will, you definitely have to like search yourself. Mm-hmm. The answer is in you, bro. Like, you can't ask nobody, or you can't ask Braxton, what do you think? What do I want to do with my life?
Yeah, right.
Like, how does that even sound?
Go back. Go back.
Exactly. No.
Go back to the book.
Will, what do I want to do?
Yeah.
And that's what he said. Go and be silent with yourself. Because I honestly think you know what you want. You have an idea of what you want to do.
It's just that fear.
It's just that fear of being wrong.
Yeah, 100%. That's it.
I definitely think you know what you want to do, but it's just the fear of what.
And nothing wrong with still wanting to hold on to being told what to do. Because that's, like, what do you do when you're 1 year old, 5 years old, 10, 15, up to 20? You're just told what to do, and it makes sense because everybody knows what you don't. But now they don't know what you don't. You know you because you've been with you the longest, and it's time for you to make your own decision,
Exactly. You have to think.
I think the next goal honestly, bro, I feel like the next goal for you is to make a decision.
Yeah.
Just make a decision, though.
So that's my short term goal.
Yeah, not the right decision. Fuck the right decision.
Just a decision.
Just a decision that you believe in. That you said, you know what? This is important to me. This makes sense to me.
Right.
And these are why this is important to me. These are the reasons why, and I stand by this decision. Whether it turns out to be good or
bad. You got to stand by that
I'll
decision.
be proud I made that decision, because the falling on your face or winning is whatever. It's like, I'll be proud that I chose this battle.
And I know I will be, because right now I'm decisionless. Like, just
decisions made in the last year, zero.
Yeah, big old goose egg on the whiteboard,
Maybe that'd be a cool thing, man. Maybe at the end of the week, just ask yourself, did I make any decisions this week, or did I put them off?
You remember I used to be afraid to make decisions. Like,
very afraid.
I used to be afraid to make decisions, bro.
He's like, whoa.
I'm like,
hey, can you come Thursday?
But bro,
let me let you know.
Like, make that decision. Like you said, you have a fear of commitment. Make that decision. Commit to it. Accept whatever results come with it. But just know it's better than just sitting here regretting or just thinking what if.
I think it's really cool, man, that if you think about, like, one thing I'm motivated by is developing my character. And I think, how can I develop being brave?
Right.
If I'm not afraid.
Like an RPG. I don't know if you ever play RPG.
Yeah.
But it's like
RuneScape, bro, my skill capes. I'm trying to get skill capes.
Exactly.
Man.
I'm trying to get skill everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's like it truly is again, to reference this book, The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. It's a fantastic book that I just finished reading and started again the second time. It's all about developing through the challenges and seeing them as the point. Like, you can't be brave if you're not scared. So the problem is not you're scared. The problem is you're not brave yet. And therefore, there lies your challenge. Be brave. And you're not brave. And neither have I been a lot in my life for the same reasons. Been successful, haven't been a failure in a while, so not looking forward to taking that on.
Yeah.
But who do I identify as, the success or the person working at it?
Yeah.
It's really, really cool, man.
Yeah, I think I heard, and I don't know if it was you that said this, I heard this somewhere, but bravery is not the absence of fear.
Yeah.
It's, you got these brave men and women, what makes them brave is actually being scared and continuing on, like, anyways.
You can't be brave if you're not afraid.
Right.
Can't be courageous either.
So it's recognizing and sitting with that fear and doing it anyways.
And cowardice these days, cowardice today, is conformity.
Yeah.
Or
hiding behind a phone. Or
exactly. Because if you honestly just think about it, people are exactly where they want to be, whether they tell you or not. Because they won't make the necessary decisions or take the necessary steps to go out and do whatever they want to do. Yeah. They rather just conform, and that's what they choose to do. So the thing is, like we keep saying, to make a decision. That's the biggest part. I think that's the biggest take. Just
Bravery.
make a decision.
I agree with the both of y'all.
Yeah.
This whole conversation could be summed up by saying, be brave.
Yeah.
Be courageous and be thankful. Wake up in the morning and say, I'm so glad I'm afraid of these things in my path, because no other way could I develop being courageous or brave, right? I really appreciate you guys joining me for this podcast.
I love this podcast.
Yeah. I know you do, man. You get in your zone, man. It's really cool. A lot of love to you, brother.
Thank you.
And a lot of honest respect for talking openly in a public setting about challenges you face vulnerably. It's really awesome, man.
Yeah. Well, I just hope it helps somebody, you know?
Sure as hell
That's it.
does.
If it helps one person, then I did my goals.
Yeah, man. All right.
I love you, bro.
Stay tuned.
Peace. Booyah.
Good stuff.
That was like